Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the ENT Youth Services Podcast. ENT Youth Services strives to empower, nurture, and transform opportunity youth to become individuals with essential life skills that are necessary to make a valuable contribution to their communities and the world. Stay connected with ENT via your favorite social media apps and help us get the word out, giving us a 5-star rating on YouTube and also, just sharing our podcast. Now let's start today's episode.
Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you to our parent podcast for the evening. My name is Jennifer Heaven. I'm the lead parent for our parent podcast. And tonight I'm very excited because I want to introduce one of our moderators standing in for Mr. Kyler. She is a third year pre-med student at University of Pennsylvania, Miss Sophia Greenfield. Miss Sophia, take it away.
Everyone. Like she said, my name's Sophia Greenfield. I'll be going to my senior year at the University of Pennsylvania. I'm on pre-med track studying health and societies. And to start off, Dr. Gage, I just want you to tell us about yourself and your experience with this topic.
Hey, Sophia.
Yes, ma'am.
I will welcome our guest speaker tonight for you.
Okay, great.
So, my name is Dr. Esther Forrester. I am the current president of ENT Youth Services, and I'm very excited that everyone is able to join us today. And for those who, for whatever reason, whether you're driving, you have different things to do, within a week or so, it will be on the website. So we don't want you to feel left out, okay? So this is my complete pleasure to introduce this phenomenal young lady, Dr. Shayna Gage. I have the pleasure to say that Shayna has been in my life for maybe more than 10 years, 15 years. I knew Shayna when she was an incredible young student at Howard University. Then I also had the pleasure to know her when she was a resident at Howard University. Since then, Shayna has gone on to do great things. She's actually one of the top 10, she might be in the top 5 child and adolescent psychiatrists in the DMV with a specialty in addiction medicine. She's also a mother and a wife and probably one of the dearest friends I have to this day. And I'm proud to say she's family also. So without no further ado, I turn this over to you, Dr. Gage, to say a little bit about yourself before Sophia takes over.
Oh, wow. So thank you so much for that illustrious introduction. Feeling warm on a Sunday evening. That was amazing. And I appreciate every word. I'm going to date myself a little bit because it's actually been 20 years now, Dr. Forrester, since I've been a student. So, wow, it has been a long time since we started out as like student teacher and then resident teacher attending and now to be great friends and colleagues. So thank you all for having me. As Dr. Forrester said, I am a child psychiatrist at heart, but also practice adult psychiatry and addiction psychiatry. Been living in the DMV for over 20 years now, and this is just home base. And I treat all ages, as I said. Really do have kind of a passion for the adolescents, young adult age population, and obviously those who are also dually diagnosed and, dealing with drug or alcohol issues, which we know is a huge problem in this day and age. So, um, yeah, I'm thrilled to be here and happy to help out in any way.
Great. Thank you for that. I'd say our first question is generally within your experience, being a psychiatrist, specializing with adolescents. Generally, how does being raised in a single parent household affect an adolescent's mental health? From what you've seen, from anything that you've experienced, what you've witnessed, how does it affect one's mental health generally?
Yeah, I mean that's a tough one, right? There's so many different ways to answer that question. I think for a lot of adolescents, raising a single family household, you have to look at, are they the only child? Are they one of multiple children? That may impact, their responsibilities. In a single family household, a huge concern is finances. A huge concern is time allocated to the child. As a single parent, you may be working quite a bit to make ends meet. As a child in a single family household, you also have to navigate emotions, relationships, right? That single parent may potentially be dating or, possibly in a, difficult, potentially abusive relationship. So there are a lot of different factors that can affect any child that's being raised by a single mom. And of course, you have plenty of single parents who do wonderful and amazing jobs, especially if they have support, the village around them, the people who, look out for them and help out. But in most cases, many single parents are struggling not only from a financial standpoint, but also just emotionally to care for themselves and be a part of healthy relationships, but also having to take care of children on their own.
Yes, thank you for that. I know you mentioned whether it be the child being an only child or with siblings. So with that, how important do you feel it is for the strength of a bond siblings should have regarding a parent's influence on their life and their development?
The first part of your question went out. So can you repeat the first part again for me?
Oh yeah, sorry. I was just saying regarding what you said on the importance, or maybe not the importance, but acknowledging how children's experiences differ when they're only children or whether they have siblings or a multitude of siblings. I
Mhm.
was asking how do sibling relationships influence each other under a roof, and how does that play in part, would you say, with the parents' influence in adolescent development?
Yeah, well, I think, we always talk a lot about kind of the parentified child. So if you are the eldest or one of the eldest of multiple siblings, many of those adolescents are, used to handling a lot. Cooking, cleaning, taking their younger siblings to school. And in many cases, they end up being a source of support for the parent, right? You take on kind of this parentified role, and emotionally you have to grow up to handle things that many adolescents aren't or should not be handling at certain developmental stages. And so in many cases you'll hear teenagers saying, like, my mom's my best friend, or, my mom's like my sister, or my dad, like we're more friends than feeling like, they are in a parent child relationship. And some aspects of that can be healthy from the standpoint.
Hi, my name is Diallo Watts, and I am a part of the ENT Youth Partners. I just wanted to insert a short interruption to tell you about our sponsor. Today, our sponsor is you, the listener. Thank you so much for donating to ENT Youth Services on our website. Every dollar goes towards plans to continue our impactful workshops, expand our reach on social media, continue our successful podcast, and so much more. If you would like to sponsor ENT, please email us at contact@entyouth.com. Thank you so much for your continued support. Now, let's get back to the episode.
So I was talking about the kind of parentified adolescent and um, how they typically will have more of like a friendship with their parent, or, they'll say something like, oh, like my mom's like my sister. And in those cases, not always benefiting from the guidance of their parent because, again, they're taking on adult responsibilities and kind of seen as an adult before they actually are. And so you may find that adolescent constantly seeking, praise, validation, wanting their parent to nurture more, show more affection. And, in many cases, again, they're the ones also having to do that with their younger siblings. So their parents may not think they need it as much.
Okay, great. Yeah, that kind of made sense in terms of, I guess the bond would still be close, just in a different regard, in terms of how both the parent and the child can interact. Um, I'd say my next question is, how do you think, or maybe what are some, I'd say, um, negative coping mechanisms or anything that you've seen when in unsuccessful single parent household behaviors and relationships?
Well, there can be many. I mean, first of all, you have those who may start to suffer with emotional disturbances, develop depression, develop anxiety. Again, when we think about a young person kind of taking on responsibilities of an older person, having to help their parent make ends meet, maybe having to get a job to help support the family. Um, just the day to day of having to navigate my schoolwork and also helping feed my siblings, that sort of thing. So there are many adolescents in that situation who may develop depressive symptoms, anxiety symptoms, potentially start to cope by using substances when they have some time away just to have an escape. You may have those who may start to act out. Maybe their grades will suffer because they don't have enough time to care for their grades or they stop caring about their grades. Um, and then, of course, in many cases, you can have kids who will start looking for the attention that they want from their parents in other, more likely than not, unhealthy places, and forming bonds with other people who nurture them, but again, in ways that we may not want them to be nurtured.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that point of view, and um, expressing like the many avenues people may take in trying to cope and all these things. Does anyone else want to jump in and add on to that? Maybe something they can relate to, or maybe some advice that you may give to the public?
Hi, this is Heaven. I mean, I can relate to many of those aspects. As a mother of, as a single parent, I should say, of three children. I have two girls from one relationship and a son from a previous marriage. And the dynamics are different when it comes to help. Um, Being a single parent, it is a struggle financially, emotionally, being there for them. And knowing that I have to work and provide a roof over their head and food. With my son's father, financially, I can say that we share the responsibility. So it's less of a stressor, especially now that he's away in college and there's different needs and different finances required for that. But when it comes to my daughters, that is a major struggle because everything is on me and they're always looking at me to provide. And sometimes it's hard to say no. And but actually, I have to, now that they're older, give them to real deal of why things are the way they are and why it's a financial struggle for me. Before you try to, keep your children out of adult things, but it comes to an age where you have to discuss certain things with them and let them know that, this is kind of all on me. So I just need you to be patient and know that I'm doing the best that I can without disparaging the other parent to a certain degree, but letting them know. But it is a struggle just trying to be there for them. Um, I'm in another job now where I have better work-life balance, which I'm thankful for. I have more days that I'm off to be there for my kids, to be emotionally available, to, drop them off, pick them up from school. My youngest, she's like my clingy child. I love it to death, but there's that, well, mom, you're not there, or why do you have to work so late? And now that my position has changed, I feel like they're more emotionally stable when it comes to knowing that I can be there for them when they need me. And the aspect of, being dependent on your older child. When my son is home from college, I am a little bit more dependent, but I think he loves it in a sense because he can spend more time with his sisters. I do need him to drop off and pick up the days that I have to go to work and, do certain things when I'm not home. He's there to provide and help cook little things here and there. But it's not to the degree where I'm solely dependent on him, which I'm thankful for. But I can see all aspects of that. It is still a challenge because you want to be there and do everything that you can for your kids, but certain times you can't. But I think they are well balanced, knowing that they are loved by their fathers and know that they are loved by me, and that no matter what, that we'll be there for them regardless.
So I wanted to add in and thank you, Heaven, for sharing that, as a single mom, I think you hit on all the things that I talked about, but one part that I think you highlighted, which, I think can be difficult for, some children, talked about the role of your son's father, and then the difference with your daughters, and, also how children may feel about that dynamic. If one father is more involved, another father is not as involved, or, a parent is married to one of the co-parents, but not to the parent of the other children. That also sometimes can be really difficult for children emotionally.
Absolutely. And in the sense of relationships, I think earlier on, they have a different like um, need and desire for their mother versus their father. Their father was allowed to date and he can have girlfriends or whatever the case may be. But when it comes to their mother, me, I think they were more protective. They were just like, no, I don't want you getting married again. I don't want anybody else with my mom. So it's that type of thing that you deal with and you try to balance because you want to be in a relationship per se, but you have to make sure that it's the right person who is around your kids, that they gel. There's no animosity, and trying to say, well, I want to spend time with this person, and that doesn't mean I'm neglecting you. I just, mommy needs her adult time or mommy time, and that becomes a challenge too as a single parent.
Yeah, that's really great. I really appreciate you for sharing that. I have a general question for the single moms that are here. How do you manage your own mental health and how do you make time to process, your own feelings and prioritize yourself at times if you can and yeah, just generally like how do you prioritize yourself and what do you take into account when considering your own mental health when things get stressful like you've shared before when like one of you have said when you had to have given other responsibilities to like one of your oldest children yeah, how do you manage your own mental health and prioritize your time?
Well, I can answer that. I am currently not a single mom. I have since married, but when I was a single mom, my son was 3, my daughter was 5. I remember just making sure I stuck to a schedule. They were very much on a rigid schedule, so to speak, very robotic. They were in bed at 7:30 every night. We had dinner at the same time. We had bath at the same time, just so that way I can clean up and prepare for the next day, just so I can just have time to shower and take care of myself. What I did for myself every other week is I I attended counseling because I had certain things happen to me as a child that I wanted to deal with. Um, when they were with their father, I made sure I took care of myself. I cleaned up. I really just stuck to a schedule, and I found that it helped me a lot as a mom.
I agree. A schedule is very helpful. The kids, like you said, went to bed at the same time. Thankfully, by the grace of God, I had my mother here to help me. So she has been a big support when it comes to, days I have to be away and they need dinner or they need to be picked up from school or little things here and there. So that was a blessing. But at the same time, there was still, they're still my children and I still have to tend to certain needs of my children. And it was also just helpful that I could be able to balance that. But being away and not being there all the time that was still like mentally challenging. And the financial struggles is mentally challenging. Some days you just push it by the wayside and keep moving through. you have your cry, you have your good cry and release that stress and anxiety, and you get up and go again. And I feel that's not healthy because you're not necessarily getting everything out. It's that was just my way of releasing at the time. I think it's gotten better now that they are older and more self-sufficient, and now like my job has changed. My mother's still there, but I think it's gotten a lot better for me now. Just work in general was very, very stressful, and bringing that home to the kids and knowing that they still need me, but I couldn't necessarily mentally be there because I was so exhausted from work. So, like I said, now that it's changed, it's been very, very helpful, and I'm just grateful, and grateful for my mother as well because she was a big help.
Sophia, before I let you continue, I see Louisa was trying um to comment. I don't know. Louisa, do you still want to make a comment?
No, because hello everybody. Heaven spoke exactly what I wanted to say. Thank you, Heaven.
Okay. So I have a question for Dr. Gage, Sophia. Dr. Gage, how do you guide parents, or how do you, when should a parent come and talk to not just the pediatrician, but reach out and say, hey, Dr. Forrester, you know, Dr. Whoever, I need for you to guide me to find a good psychiatrist because I don't know what to do next. At what are the red flags? At what point should they worry? What point should they not worry? And what point should they just say, I really need to talk to Dr. Gage?
Yeah. So typically, the red flag for any person, but definitely children, is when you see shifts that are persisting, right? So of course, for most of us, you have days that are not so good, or, where you are sad or angry or irritable. For our young ladies, it might be related to their menstrual cycle, that sort of thing. So, what you're looking for is something that seems like it just has not shifted. There is no change. This is persisting. So, it could be that irritability, it could be that anger, it could be that sadness, it could be isolation. It could be, a change in their enjoyment of things, the things that they typically love and want to do, they're now kind of pulling away and they're not interested. If you ever start to, of course, smell things that seem suspicious, or you're finding any sort of um, items in their room and their bags that they should not be having. And this is a controversial one, but I believe that parents should have a right to go through a kid's phone. And obviously, if there's things in their phone that you're concerned about, comments they're making to friends, or certain websites they're going to, social media places that they're continuously visiting, that are inappropriate for them, that is when I would want to reach out and get some help.
So we differ on that a little bit, Dr. Gage. And my take on that, when it gets to that level of toxicity, yes, they should, but I think they should try to work on trust. And a lot of times when you have single parent families, it's kind of hard because one parent, it will, tends to give more than the other parent. And it's almost like good cop, bad cop. And, but when it gets to the point where there's a lack of trust, then I think I agree with you, but I disagree a little bit. I think a parent does have the right to go through phones and stuff, but before it gets to that point, if you could work on building up trust, even though in this situation that we are talking about in the single parent homes, it's kind of hard just because, you know, sometimes one parent just is out to get the other and the child is caught in the middle. um but yes, there are some situations where don't care how you try, that child is going to do whatever and starts, getting involved in situations and relationships that are just unhealthy. And at that point, I do agree that parents should go through their phone. But I don't agree from a pediatric standpoint that parents should just, go through kids' phones without trying to work on that trust. Okay. Um, I agree they do pay the bills, and I've said this to my patients before. The parents pay the bills and stuff like that. But I prefer the approach to be trust first than before it gets to the point where they're about to meet you, Dr. Gage, where it's just like, hey, we just gotta go and see what site she's on. We need to see who she's talking to, that kind of thing. So I agree.
I think I don't think we disagree. I guess for me, the approach for me in terms of the phone is not from a trust perspective, it's from a safety perspective. And I think what happens is many of our children are exposed to things and they don't necessarily know or think it's inappropriate. And so for me, and I mean, I have kids of all ages, but from 6 all the way to 17, um, because I know that they may not necessarily go seek certain information, that it can just fall in their laps. I am very much, you know, I just think there's certain things I should know if they are watching. And it's not to get them in trouble or like a haha, gotcha moment. It's more like, hey, and my kids know I go on their phone. So hopefully that's a deterrent. But overall, it's more like, I'm not going to sit and just read your messages for the heck of it. But if there's something that I do happen to see that I am concerned about, we need to talk about it. We need to have a discussion. I need to make sure you understand this may not be appropriate. This is the reason why. And depending on the age, you may have some compromise about some of those things. But yeah, it's not coming initially from a place of not trusting the teen. It's more safety. I want to be sure someone's not reaching out to you who shouldn't, that your friends, the people that you're around are doing appropriate things around you. You're not being influenced or, impressed upon to do things that I, as your parent, would not want you to do.
So yeah, I agree. I agree with that. That they should. I think that the child should be told, like, Esther, I'm gonna go through your phone just to make sure. So if from that approach, I completely agree.
Yeah. And for me, that's global, right? I tell parents from the beginning that you should just have your child expect that. It's not like you're doing it behind their back. They know that at any point in time, because you own it, you can touch it, go all up in it, through it, hide it, like you can do whatever you want with it. But for the most part, you respect that they are the ones caring for it. And as long as they're doing that in a respectful and decent manner, you really shouldn't have to do that often. But I think a phone check every so often is just important so you know what things your kids are into, what interests they might be developing that they have not shared with you. And I think we all know developmentally as you grow up, there's certain things we snuck and did behind our parents' back, but now we just have better ways to find out than our parents did.
Fantastic. Back to you, Sophia.
Yeah, no, I agree with both points that were said. I understand both perspectives. And like Dr. Gage was saying, like trust is a very big thing. And like as you said, like we've all tried to sneak behind our parents' back, like sneak out the house. And there's a lot of like dangerous things on the internet, especially like with the conceptualizing like how much information's on a phone and what you can do with the phone nowadays. It's different from let's say the last generation before when they were children. So I guess regarding the aspect of trust and transparency, how would you say a parent can build that trust and transparency with their child when it comes to phone use?
Well, I think a big thing again is just the initial core values that you instill in your children are of utmost importance, right? From the beginning, these are the things that I've taught you. This is what I expect from you. And if you see things that kind of deviate from that within reason, fine. But outside of things that make you feel uncomfortable, I'd want for you to come and talk to me and ask me or, ask my thoughts about it or whatever. The other thing is, um, you know, just just because I'm going to go through it, um, again, I'd want you to come if there's something that you're being introduced to that's new, that's unfamiliar. I'd want to develop the sort of relationship where you would want to come and talk to me about it before you engage, whatever it is, whether it's social media, TikTok, or whatever it is, so that I can talk to you about, okay, if that's something you want to do, well, let's be sure we understand, there's some ground rules around that. And here are the potential dangers of that or risks that we take if we do those things. So just I guess the big point is open conversation, not having things just on the hush, or your kids feel like they can't talk to you about things, or the minute they ask a question that you're uncomfortable with, you shoot it down, or you are ready to judge them about it or judge one of their friends. I found a lot of kids will ask questions or tell you something about one of their friends when really it is them, because they want to see the reaction. So, kind of watching out for those conversations like, hey, mom, my friend was dating this guy and this thing happened. And sometimes they're talking about themselves. So, being really keen when you hear those sort of conversations, and really paying attention to how you respond to those things, keeping an open mind, but more than anything, coming from a really non-judgmental standpoint, so your child feels comfortable talking to you.
Yeah, that's a really good point. In terms of like everything that you said regarding ways to build that transparency as a parent. And I can definitely relate to that personally. The relationship I have with my mom, like I see her as my best friend. Like we do everything together. We scroll and watch TikTok together and doom scroll. We go out and get lunch. Like that's really my best friend, and I feel that she has definitely given me the platform to just bring up random topics to talk about. Because as we feel, I do think we've gone to, because I'll be 21 in September, so I feel as though we've gotten to that point where like she can be my friend, and it's like at this point in my life, I feel like it's a friend that guides and gives me advice along the way as I'm entering my adulting years. So I do feel like she is giving me that support and is giving me the proper advice to make me feel comfortable to bring up maybe uncomfortable topics for other people. I wanted to open the floor to other people that may can add to the topic of phones and building trust with your child, or like maybe some anecdotal evidence that you may have that you may feel comfortable sharing um, regarding your relationship with your child.
This is heaven. For me, it's just, giving them boundaries, knowing that having a phone is a privilege. It is a safety thing as well for me and my kids, as far as communication, because I'm away from them, at lengths of time as far as work is concerned. But just having that open communication, seeing things myself, not necessarily going through their phones. I don't necessarily go through their phones if I'm with them and I kind of see something, or if, they're on Facebook or Instagram and I see that they may have posted something that I'm questionable about. I will discuss it and give them and have them understand why certain things shouldn't be put out there, or why certain things shouldn't be posted, or interaction with certain people, and just the ramifications of being involved, because you may not be the one doing something, but if you're caught up in certain things, you'll be the one in trouble, and they're not going to get in trouble because of just the situation or circumstances. So just being careful of things that they do and who they're with. I think we have an open communication where they can actually come and tell me things, whether they did it or not, or whether it was a friend or not. Usually they're really truthful about whether they did something, just to kind of give me a heads up. And I let them know, it's better to tell me, because I may be upset, but me being upset doesn't mean that I don't love you or I don't trust you or that I don't want you to come tell me things. But having a conversation, not yelling about it, because I think when you yell, that's when they're not comfortable coming to talk to you, because mom just yells about everything. I think it's a honest conversation where you are kind of talking to your friend. They're your little friend and they have boundaries that they need to uphold, but keeping that open communication so that they know that you are trustworthy and that they can come and tell you anything without feeling ashamed or scared.
Okay, great. We are wrapping up on time, so I wanted to thank everyone here for logging in today for our podcast. And lastly, I did want to ask Dr. Gage a concluding question. Do you have any words of wisdom, or any nuggets of anything that you would want to share with our parents for today on how to deal with single parent households and any advice you would want to give or any concluding words you may have.
Yeah, I think as we've all kind of shared, it can be a very difficult, challenging, um, challenging situation. I always say the first thing to single parents is make sure you're taking care of yourself. That concept of like not being able to give from an empty cup. So I always ask the parents of the children that I'm seeing, like, how are they doing, right? How are they managing work, life, the balance, relationships? And I let them know that, it's not just about parenting, it's about how you care for yourself. Like your children look to you really for everything, right? You are their model, their first model in life. And if they see that you don't sleep or you don't eat properly or you don't exercise or you don't, do things to take care of yourself, it's hard for them to take that message from you. I love what Heaven said, and I think another mom about, schedules, structure. I think that's really important when you are the only person and most of the work falls on you, is that maintaining a schedule to help with just feeling overwhelmed. A big one for me is the word no. Like it is okay to say no. A lot of times with single parents, they feel this need to kind of overcompensate because another parent is not involved or not always present. And just know that overcompensating, and whether it's giving your kids whatever they want or letting them do whatever they want because that other parent isn't there and you want them, to really love and be, closer to you, is not necessary. Like you are enough. You are doing an amazing job and you don't have to overcompensate for anything. Just being their mom, being there every day, or their dad, being with them every day, caring for them. They see what you're doing. They don't always show appreciation, but don't feel like you have to say yes to everything and make everything happen for them. It is okay to say no sometimes. Um, and again, back to the original, like taking care of your mental health, that anxiety, that stress, that depression, as much as we think we hide it from our children, they know you better than anyone else. And if you are suffering with any of those conditions, it's important you go and take care of yourself so that they can see, the brightest, happiest, and really most kind of fulfilled parent that they can see. Because our children know when we're struggling and when we're suffering, and they take those burdens on as well. So don't ever fool yourself and think they don't know when you're going through something. They do know. So be sure that you're taking care of your mental and physical health as well.
Perfect. Like I said, we're wrapping up on time. I want to thank you, Dr. Gage, for your expertise on this topic and devoting time today and being with us. And I also just want to thank everyone that logged on today on today's podcast. And we're concluding today's podcast, and tune in for part 3 in 2 weeks. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.